Well, the International Monetary Fund has cut growth forecast for South Africa in its latest World Economic Outlook. At the same time, the WEF has released its social mobility report that revealed why economies will benefit from fixing inequality. And for more on this, we're joined via Skype by Economist and CEO of Inkunzi Wealth, Owen Nkomo. Owen, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to The Globe.
Good evening, Simpiwe, and good evening to the viewers.
Now, we've seen the IMF slashing South Africa's 2020 growth outlook, expecting a meager growth of 0.8%. Now, this is not the best of news because you'll remember that last week the rand has been undervalued against the US dollar by a massive 62%, essentially making it the weakest currency in the world. So suggestions are that, of course, the growth was stunted by power outages as a result of load shedding. But is it really the reason of this outlook?
Yes, indeed. I mean, I guess the question to be asking at the moment is who is not downgrading South Africa's growth projections at this stage? You had the good Governor Kganyago downgrading our growth prospects last week, and even if he gave us that rate cut, I think the problem that we experience as a country is that there's just no growth coming through, and there's not enough levers that we are pulling to convince the rest of the world that we will come right. So we are seeing all these downgrades coming through, and I think that's quite unfortunate for the country. And I do think that Eskom obviously plays a big impact into people's perceptions of how our economy is going to perform down the line. Without electricity, simply, there is no way that we can get the recovery that we have been planning for under the leadership of President Ramaphosa. All these efforts that he's been putting through to go and get foreign investments, I think will be extremely challenged if the first question the investors is going to be, how are you going to fix Eskom and how is Eskom going to impact the economy?
But then it's not all doom and gloom, is it? Because exporters will benefit more as a result because, they'll benefit more from a weaker currency, receiving more money, while on the other hand, importers will feel the strain of paying more when purchasing imported goods. Now, this means more business flowing into South Africa as a result of the rand's position on the international markets. Is this an accurate observation, Owen?
Look, some certain markets will benefit. Some certain segments of the market are not going to benefit. For example, the tourism sector, if the rand weakens from where it is at the moment, it will benefit. And exporters, obviously, from selling stuff at a weakened rand, will definitely get more rands for their money because the international hard currencies have strengthened against us. But at the same time, we need to think about the impact of the cost of production here at home. With a weaker rand, the cost of production might actually negate that benefit for the exporters. But generally, the general principle is that when the rand weakens, exporters benefit, and vice versa. So let's hope that the middle ground can be found because we need the economy to kick in all cylinders in both directions, whether we're importing or exporting. So all the drugs that we import, all the oil that we import as well, we are going to start paying higher prices for it if the currency weakens. And if the rest of the world continues to believe that South Africa cannot solve its internal issues, particularly the big black elephant in the room, which is Eskom.
And I would imagine this reflecting structural constraints which are holding back business confidence and private investment. And I suppose that this will make the jobs of Team South Africa currently in Davos very difficult in convincing international business and investors that South Africa is indeed the ultimate investment destination.
Perceptions in investments are the most important element of people making a decision. So President Ramaphosa led the team last year to Davos, and I think they sold the story there in Davos, which people said, okay, we'll give you 1 year. Come back in a year, let us have the same conversation and see what you'll have achieved. And I personally think that maybe we still needed a little bit more time to achieve the results or rather the outcomes that the president must have promised the guys back in Davos. I think, we've seen the political uncertainty back here at home with the implosion of the DA and, which deems the ANC the stronger party in the country, and with the weakened opposition, investors do not like to see that, particularly in emerging countries. And also the other thing to think about is Eskom, which we have mentioned already, is going to be on everyone's question list when they engage the South African delegation. And I frankly don't know how I would answer that as the president of the country. We've got plans, yes, but are we moving forward with those plans? Do we have the funding we need to sort out ESCOM? We've just also got this emerging drama around SAA, where we need to raise 2 billion rands, and we've missed the deadline. And how do you respond to people when they say it seems that your state-owned enterprises are under severe pressure, and we think that you're trying to fix a lot of things at the same time, and the smallest things you are battling to do. If you're failing to deal with the 2 billion rand issue of SAA, how are you going to deal with a 300 plus billion rand matter of ESCOM? So it's just going to compound the challenges that the team South Africa has to deal with in Davos and certainly everywhere else in the world. I do anticipate that we could see some more people becoming negative about the country. That's not being unpatriotic. The fact is that numbers do not lie, and I think we need to be making the bigger decisions that Minister Mboweni espoused when he said we need to start making some serious structural reforms so that the country can start to move in a different direction and do the big decisions that will convince the foreign investors that we definitely care about fixing our economy.
Well, just in wrapping, Owen, you are, in a sense, suggesting political certainty. Well, policy certainty and political certainty surely are the main factors that international finance groups take into cognizance when projecting a country's financial outlook. Now, given the feeble policy certainty that we see in South Africa and the political certainty as a result of the ructions and the discord within the ruling party, the African National Congress, just how much of a determinant do these international finance groups use as a tool or as a barometer for a country's outlook?
You know, sometimes some people will look at our politics in South Africa and they say, geez, things are really bad. But if you look at other emerging markets out there, you know, things are in a worse off state than we are. We have some certain level of political stability. We don't have major social unrest. And at the same time, I think that we have become very lazy when it comes to the issue of policy certainty, where our biggest riding policy at the moment is NDP, which we are not revisiting, regularly to say we still want to stick to this plan. I think that the big challenges that have faced our leadership at the moment have sort of taken everyone's eyes away from the National Development Plan, which is the major riding policy in the country. And I think, as I've said earlier, given these policy challenges that we are facing at the moment, if we do not have a strong opposition on the scorecards out there by investors, that is going to spell negative connotations that will make it difficult for us to move out of a position where we can attract foreign investors. Some will still come through, the brave ones will come through, and they will benefit down the line. But the general, or rather the average investor in the street will struggle to believe that they're putting their money in the best place. Because if you think about it, with almost 0 to 0.5 growth being delivered by South Africa, you may make 8% more by putting that cash into other developing economies out there. And I think that is what people look for. They want a country that can deliver decent returns. And we unfortunately need to call a major conference for the whole country and sit down and say, guys, everyone must tighten their belt. You know, we need to be as aggressive as the Greeks and the Irish and the Portuguese were when they faced financial crisis, and just accept that we must take pain for a year or two in order to fix the long-term success of our country. Otherwise, if we do not do that, I think that we will find ourselves with nothing to work with down the line. No one will want to look at us as an investment destination, and we'll have no internal resources to steer our ship away from demise.
All right, Owen, we appreciate your reflections and your analysis on this matter. Thank you so much for your time. That was Economist Owen Nkomo, and he's the CEO of Inkunzi Wealth, joined us on the line.